Hello and welcome to yet another episode of Realty Plus on Republic Television. I am Amit Wadhwani, and today we are going to discuss about a very interesting subject. Do brokers matter as far as real estate sales is concerned? This industry requires organic sales, and real estate brokers form an integral part in getting those important sales deals to the developer's desk.
Amit Wadhwani, our anchor and the host, brings his enigma and in-depth knowledge of real estate. Anurag Batra. Dr. Batra is the man with many hats and is one half of the show that busts the many myths associated with real estate. Arvind Nandan, Executive Director, Research Knight Frank India. Arvind comes with a 2-decade experience in research, strategy, consulting, valuations, investment, due diligence and development analysis. J.S. Augustine, Ashar Group. Augustine is an industry veteran who has been at the forefront of the changing market scenarios and is one of the sought-after names in Tier 2 and 3 housing projects. He is an active member of CII and MCHI Credi. Ashish Shah, Chief Operating Officer, Radius Developers. Ashish is a business leader with over 2 decades of experience in the industry and is responsible for business aspects like investor relations, project feasibility, fundraising, sales, marketing and business development, aiding Radius's vision to transform the Mumbai skyline. Nayan A. Shah, CEO and Managing Director, Mayfair Group. Nayan helms West India's most renowned real estate brand and has been a resounding benchmark of the industry since 1964. When it comes to project quality and practices of compliances, the group is a market leader. Parrth Mehta, Managing Director, Paradigm Realty. Parrth has over a decade's experience in multiple real estate brands at different strengths. He started Paradigm Realty with a vision of offering the best in the affordable luxury housing segment. Vahid Incorporated. Vahid is the maverick genius with over 4 decades of creating brand images and has been leading the sphere of brand integration in the Kingdom of Bahrain for over 2 decades. He is globally known as the transformation maker, the brand futurist.
I have a series of friends. We have had so many panels. I've got so many enterprising people on the panel. But today I see friends on my right and friends on my left. To start with, AB, what do you think about brokers?
First of all, broker is a respectable term. I want to tell you that when I passed out of MDI 22 years back, I went to my father and said, I've got a job with Collier's Jardine.
Yeah.
I'm part of the setup team. And my dad asked me, what is Collier's Jardine? I tried to explain to him that Collier's Jardine does research, it does consulting, it does broking. And my dad, who studied at BITS Pilani, said to me in Hindi.
When was this?
In 1996. And he said to me, अगर दलाली करनी थी तो इतना पढ़ने लिखने की क्या जरूरत थी? But on a serious note, I think the real estate professional is the real estate broker. So the brokers have kept pace with time. The broking profession has seen better quality of people come from business schools, from chartered risk analysts. The real estate broker is an important part of the real estate value system. And the real estate brokers, now that they're in among RERA, I think the profession will see even more professionalism.
Lovely. We have Nayan Bhai with us today. Now the newly elected MCHI president and somebody who is known as the Iron Man of the real estate industry. What do you think about brokers?
So the first Real Estate Brokers Association was founded by my father. And among the 5 people who were then, only one, Lakshman Das Naranji, survives today. So, and his piece of advice to me always has been that, Nayan, even if you have to do a property transaction with your elder brother, keep a broker in between.
Wow. Why? Could you explain for our consumers to understand, even if the transaction is happening within the family, what makes the broker's role so important? And another question, then why are brokers paid so less?
See, a real estate transaction is not a FMCG. A real estate transaction is a number of things, the title, the payment terms, the price and emotions and, I've done so much of furniture, everything comes into it. A broker is supposed to be a jack of all. and master of everything. Hello.
Wow.
Jack of all.
That is music to my ears.
and master of everything.
Right.
So in order to bring them together and peacefully, have a deal.
So let me quickly, come to Parth. You're known as the daredevil of the Western Indian real estate. You're known as the Khatron ke Khiladi of the real estate in Mumbai. You've come up big time. I hear your name all the while. What is that you're doing so special, and is it linked with the power pack sales that you get from the brokers?
See, for a developer, it starts from day one. When we conceive a plan, whether it's marketable, absorbable, will we get fast velocity of sale, or will it be acceptable in that micro market? That's when the key 4, 5, 6 reputed brokers who have credibility, who have
When you make your plans, you plan your TDR, your fungible, your open area deficit, your land premiums, your other costs.
Yeah.
Do you take the broker's cost also?
Absolutely.
Do you take the sales cost also?
So,
have you started taking them more seriously since the last 4 years?
See, I'll tell you, now it's more of a structuring capacity, where the capability lies on the developer, where if he wants to sell at a particular velocity, have a better product made faster, and not pay interest to the banks and the NBFC, he needs to push his sales.
Let me ask you, sorry to interject, as an Indian developer, do you find it difficult to coordinate with consumers and service their requests, and that's why you need a broker? Right.
So we definitely have a strong CRM team and post-sales team which handles these issues.
That's your in-house team?
In-house
So
team,
you could be one of the very few developers, I would say 1% in India, who would have their own CRM team.
See, it's all about creating a customer experience. A broker can push and pull, but the moment we take away his role from his closing capabilities to generate more business into more of post-mortem capabilities,
everybody who's watching
there is a challenge.
Do you want them to come to you directly, or do you want a broker to get them to you? Clients.
To be honest, a proficiency of a broker lies. If he's working very closely, you have to understand every broker has only 7 or 8 developers as a peak area where he can give his service. We all work 10 hours or 12 hours a day. There's a span of focus. When he's putting in his energy with those limited developers, it's important for the developer to educate the broker with the do's and the don'ts. What are the general FAQs that will come? So if he's a mature broker who's doing a large volume business with us, he has to ensure that he knows what we are doing as a company.
Let me quickly go on to Augustine, sir. You've been a stalwart as far as marketing is concerned. You've seen the developers, you've seen the brokers, you've seen the consumers. So where do you feel, could you tell our consumers 2 or 3 points why they should interact or hire a broker as far as the real estate deal is concerned?
Amit, I think the scenario is changing, and it's changing really fast. It's not what it was even 5 years back. I think RERA's played a very crucial role in bringing this change. So they're given a certain amount of responsibility and respectability both to the brokers. I think that comes with RERA, number one. And so is the developer community, which is also recognizing them.
Who knows better than me?
So is the developer community. They're also seriously engaging them, because when you register with RERA, you have to upload who are those brokers who are going to market for you as well. So transparency is starting right from the registration date onwards.
So what you're saying is transparency, and only authorized brokers are allowed to sell certain projects.
Correct. So therefore, it changes the whole landscape, the way we are doing business, number one. Number two, the broking firms are also getting much more professional. Right? Earlier it was individuals. There were both professional individuals and non-professional, both. But today the scenario is completely changing. The individuals are latching on to the professional brokers as a network, and that's only going to get bigger and bigger by the day. And the consumer is also now not anymore in the micro market. It's only 50% of your consumers in the micro market. So you can depend on a broker from that micro market. For example, if you have it in Kandivali or in Andheri, 50% might come from there, but the rest 50% comes from rest of Bombay, or maybe even rest of India, and even globally. So how do you reach? So you have to go back to the network which the broking firms are now operating.
Point taken. You think times are changing and there are more evolved, more informed, more educated, more organized brokers. Ashish, I've seen your brand doing this very lavish CP meets, and they engage channel partners of all sorts. Why do you invest money there?
I think it's important to lend confidence, and we did those in our initial formative years because we were younger brand. Now we are 4.5 years old. So clearly it helped resonate the confidence that the broker community wanted. So that was reinforced. Now everybody knows us, and the grandness is now moved on to the scale of construction that we do. And
you see more participation from Indian brokers or brokers who are positioned abroad?
I think it depends on how much time you invest to engage with them. So we have international offices, and they have their network. So they've done remarkably well in the last 4 weeks. Domestic, we haven't made big dent in the non-Mumbai market yet. We need to go out, and what would really works is that you actually go out, open a shop there, and then engage there. So we haven't gone to Delhi, Calcutta as such.
Arvind, do you see business going up? So I have reports that would say unsold stock in Q2 has gone down from 7.1 lakh to say about 1 lakh. So about close to about 10 lakh apartments sold to brokers, about 14,000 crore of brokerage at a debatable percentage. So do you see that number going up in times to come?
I think it should. And I know I'll relate back to some of the earlier discussions that were taking place. The three key things to remember, the reason why it should also go up. The first thing is, if you go back to history, some of us who were growing in 1980s, we saw everybody selling insurance from LIC.
Correct.
There was absolutely no entry barrier. So a person used to work in a government organization, and in the name of his wife, he would be selling insurance to people, his neighbors and others. That's over. Because the regulation, the barrier of regulation just finished that. Everybody in India could have become or used to become a real estate broker. I remember I'd gone to a tier 4 kind of a city in Delhi 12-13 years ago. I was looking for a broker to find information, and I was led to Adobe, the guy who does ironing. In a corner, and I was told he's the guy who does real estate.
Thank God you never actually came across a flight steward who decided to be a broker.
So even that is over. So, when you have this graded mechanism of moving from a completely disorganized, unregulated into a regulated kind of an industry, you will have that cleansing taking place. The number 3 thing is, why is the broker now far more smarter and will continue to become smarter is, the broker used to do 2 things.
Brokers are always very smart.
No, I'm saying they used to
Professionalism.
Perfection. The first part of the broker's job used to be, which we used to do, nearly 20 years in this industry, is to give the general information to the client. Right? Tell him, there is a turnaround here, there used to be an event around here. Now that part is generally taken care by the online information services. You really don't need to tell the client the basic things. You need to tell him the hardcore technical things and do the deal for him. Now, when you're moving into that sphere, organized and far more knowledge-driven industry, the quality of deals is going up. The earning capacity is going up. So, in a nutshell, I think it should only go up because we're moving into more scientific domain or realm.
We've got Vahid. I'm told you've worked with the best in the globe. You've been in the marketing domain. You've been a wizard as far as design is concerned. Is there a buzz about India as far as the real estate industry is concerned?
Well, let me tell you, having been with real estate for many years from very young age by accident, I knew that this chaos of finding a residence, let alone finding an office, is going to be an issue that is going to be addressed. To answer your question, I am amazed. I came to Mumbai just yesterday, after some 7-8 years. You guys have flown beyond any other society's speed.
That's nice.
And I'll tell you, if Dubai and those other places start from scratch, there's nothing to carry with them. But you guys have carried an incredible weight of transformation. And I want to come back to that point about brokers and highs. To me, it's very simple. At the end of the day, any industry requires the following for me. It requires to be, get on with advancement, respond to the need, and then after the advancement, where do you go? You simply have to develop a culture. So I think the gentleman that's talking here, and I'm learning, by the way, thank you very much, is fascinating. I don't get bogged down with the numbers and all that because any industry has to run. But when that industry eventually reaches a stage that it represents a culture, that it becomes iconic and responds to all those needs, including the wife and the husbands not being worried about their kids going to see a place. That's when we can tell that Indian industry has reached its final culture, which are called maturity. So finally...
So Indian industry has now reached the maturity, and today we are discussing a very, very interesting subject, which is brokers and impact on real estate. We'll be back in a moment from now. We were discussing about brokers. We had some Indian opinion. We had the privilege of having some expat opinion. Do you feel that online broking firms have a future as far as real estate sales is concerned?
The broker is a necessity part of real estate trade.
Okay.
Even after 100 years, even after 500 years also.
Why would you say that?
Because fundamentally we are dealing with an immovable property.
Correct.
I mean, how can you have a childbirth online?
Okay, that's a valid
it's
point.
as simple as that.
Right.
And just to add to it, Amit, there is something called SOBO or FOBO, which is search online, buy offline. I think real estate is category about touch and feel. Real estate is possibly the biggest investment you do in your life, your first, your second. Right. So you want to see the property, you want somebody to tell you that you're making the right decision.
But I'm told most Indian consumers want somebody's neck.
To
catch once the
so comfort. And take the pain away. Take the pain expert away. Advice. Yeah. So they search on websites, but they find online, buy offline. Second, disintermediation is happening in every business. Right. But I think in the property services, it is happening. Disintermediation of information is happening. Disintermediation of hand-holding is not happening. Third, I think there is a specialization coming in from a regional standpoint, from a local standpoint. Tomorrow, there are services which is like women brokers for women buyers. With every segment that is happening. Fourth is, I would say technology is again changing every business. Prop tech. Right. Again, search is a simple example. But in CRM, in post-sales, prop tech, in terms of who you pitch to, who's bought certain kind of properties. Right. The cost of acquisition of real estate customers is becoming more efficient. I wouldn't say it's coming down, but there is a role for technology and there is a role for the broker. You can't say it's either or.
Are youngsters taking up this profession? Seriously?
With the current way the market has evolved, there is a lot of hygiene that has come in the system. Absolutely. Hygiene in form of RERA, a culture that has brought in credibility, ownership and accountability by a broker. No more a broker job is like a postman. From here to there, एक हमने envelope दे दिया, हमको दलाली मिलनी चाहिए. नहीं. If today a developer is working on a 15 to 20% margin and a typical broker takes 2 to 3%, he's taking 20% of my revenue.
So let me get Augustine's opinion also on it. Can you also tell me two things why as a consumer you would not want to deal with a broker?
If you look at the Western world, the broker gets paid from both sides, right? From the developer side as well as from the buyer side. Right. But unfortunately in India, it's skewed. It's only the developer who picks up the tab and the consumer is not paying at this point of time, unless it's a resale property.
I fundamentally believe you cannot represent both sides, even if you're a professional. So I think you go to an orthodontist, you go to in food to a sushi bar, there is a premium because you pay to a specialist. He will save you.
Ashish, you want to add to that?
I think if it's a standardized product, a steady, large project, where you have adequate information, where the developer is easily able to explain you with a lot of authenticity, you have already armed yourself with legal knowledge, you've looked up RERA websites, you don't need any context, sure, then you can do it.
Right. Arvind, a question comes to my mind. We see a lot of these brokers being, doing business with larger brokers.
Yeah. The community or the work is such that nobody practically knows every street, every corner like the back of their hands. So it's practically impossible at this stage to know everything, and therefore you have to collaborate. I think Dr. Batra enlisted almost everything. I just wanted to add one more thing, and I'll probably strengthen this. Right. Look, real estate, unlike a car, unlike a phone, or unlike a refrigerator, is a non-standardized product.
Absolutely.
Right. Every site becomes a raw material which is unique in itself. Right. Now, a broker or somebody like that who is well versed with the technicality of that product is essentially needed. You will never be able to wipe them off.
So let me do this quick rapid fire. I'll give you 3 names and arrange those 3 names in the order of priority as you feel is right. So bankers, builders, brokers, as far as the industry is concerned in terms of priority.
The builder, Because he's the one who
because you need to
produces.
create the product.
Without him, I mean, there is no real estate.
Right.
So, second is broker.
Second is
because
broker.
the sales is dependent. Today, 60 to 70% is through the brokers. And third is the bank.
What about construction finance, private equity?
Well, you can
bank loans.
It
so
all
if you, only when the consumers purchase, you will
if,
get the bank.
If you are able to do 1/3 or 40% of your sale when you launch, you could actually do a project without a construction finance.
What's your take, Parrth?
Of course, being a developer, I'll take the first option, of course, developer. Then a broker, for the simple reason. See, today's time with the way information is moving, you need brokers and channel partners who are going to always come and tell you what can go wrong. And of course, banking, because today's time you need a financial closure to start a project.
Right.
But I agree to a level, if the land has not had too much down payment, typically in Bombay, everything's a minimum price is 20 to 25,000 rupees a carpet. And if you convert it on carpet, your construction cost is close to 20% of that. So I'm sure that much we can achieve from
So what you're saying is developers, brokers and bankers. Let me tweak a little bit for Nayan bhai. Add investors to that.
Simple. Broker, and broker.
Wow, that is nice. I think that is the best episode I have ever shot. This is music to my ears.
See, it's Anurag. There is a take for every kind of customer. The point is, वो customer को आप कौन सा product match करा सकते हो वो broker ही करा सकता है.
I would say today a broker is a good amalgamation of Lakshmi and Saraswati. Today a broker needs to be a knowledge-oriented person, but then needs to create the sales. If a broker has that, then the broker comes before the builder because there is oversupply. In that sense, we are then the builder and then the financer. Because as Augustine said, if you can create cash flows through sales, then you can minimize your funding.
You somewhere sensed it. I would add media to the equation. That's why you answered before I even asked.
Media is always, it goes without saying.
What's your take on this?
Brokers are developers' well-wishers. They want, even in testing markets, developers to do it because that's the commitment he has made to his consumer. So in a market where there is sales are sluggish, the lenders are the ones who step in. So, over time you got to, I would put,
so what's your order?
Yeah, I think, no, you can't force me. I think the developer at the top and
I'm sitting on a chair and I'm supposed to force everybody. This is public television.
Yeah, and the banker, in certain times it is at par with brokers, but clearly brokers outweigh it. But there are certain times we have to be cognizant that there are times where they just won't be able to pull it off because of the sentiment unrelated to the project or the sector. I mean, that's what we saw.
Point taken. Arvind, what's your take on this?
He's already stolen my words. So
let me ask you a different question, if we have the time for it. Are Indian brokerage firms doing well or international brokerage firms doing well?
Oh well, Indian firms are doing well for sure. Of course, they have a head start, they have an advantage. I have no problem conceding that.
Amit, I would like to add, here the young generation which has come in is far too informed, have the hard-working capabilities, and they are technologically mixed themselves so well that they're using the marketing and the online platform to their advantage of already being able to create a web for themselves, which does the major work.
Yes, your final word.
My view is that we're don't blame anybody. It's your business. You're stuck in the business that you're working in.
Right.
So my priority goes to, and I agree with you, gentlemen, it shifts. Because it cannot stay still. The priority goes to any of these three that has better idea. So the master of the ceremony here is idea. And I've seen, when I was working in the States, Chicago would go down after 7 years, the other one would go up. So when things get hard, doesn't matter if it's the builder, if it's the broker, or if it's the banker. It was always the ones that had better idea of putting a deal together from each corner. That won. So my answer to you in final analysis is doesn't matter who. It has to be idea, which goes back to that maturity.
Superb. I think that's a very balanced answer. And believe you me, I wanted to take this subject up on the very first episode of Realty Plus on Republic Television, but then I wanted to sound a little unbiased, so we shot about 10 odd episodes and then came to the subject of real estate brokers in India. Thank you so much. I think we've had maximum number of panelists ever on the Realty Plus show. We aim and we ensure every time that we shoot or have a panel discussion to get you unbiased opinion. As I said on my first episode, we will keep telling you something what the internet does not tell you. Thank you for watching Realty Plus and making it India's #1 content on real estate. Thank you.